Coming in at number 5, we have Portrait of Samantha Houston. On the surface, this painting seems like a sweet portrait of a little girl, though this painting has a dark story behind it. This deceptive painting by Richard King hangs in Austin, Texas's Driscoll Hotel and carries a haunting legend with it. The girl in the photo is named Samantha Houston and was the daughter of a senator in Texas. Samantha's father brought her with him when he stayed at the Driscoll Hotel in 1887. This would be where Samantha fell down a flight of stairs while chasing after a ball and would fall to her death. After the tragic accident, Samantha's father hired the artist Richard Kind to paint a grand portrait of Samantha to commemorate her death. For unknown reasons, Samantha's father never went to pick up the painting. Thus, after it was finished, the Driscoll Hotel purchased the painting for $10 and displayed it at the head of the grand staircase. The painting by Richard King would be hung in the hotel where she died and is known to have focused on the spirit's alleged activities. Since the accident, it is reported that her ghost haunts the Driscoll Hotel. It has been reported that a bouncing ball can often be seen in the hotel lobby. Additionally, there have been guest complaints that door handles beside the painting rattle, with guests also saying that Samantha's expression in the painting seems to distort as they look at it. In the painting, Samantha holds flowers and looks innocent, but it has been said by present-day hotel staff and guests that if you stare at the painting long enough, her expression changes. Sometimes her mouth appears to widen into a full smile, and other times her face would contour. Not only that, but there have also been guest reports of feeling nauseous or a falling feeling around the painting, as if they too are tumbling down a set of stairs. In 1906, Samantha's mother donated separate portraits of herself and her husband to be hung together side by side with their daughter, though the parents' painting kept falling off the wall for no apparent reason, having it be nailed to the wall. The parents' painting would be vandalized and slashed, leaving the hotel to have both paintings copied and hung without labels, with the fear that they would get vandalized again. Today, no one knows where the original paintings are. In at number 4, we have The Dead Mother. Most famous for his painting titled The Scream, Edvard Munch is not new to dark and scary paintings. The 1800s painter is a fairly dark individual and was driven to insanity for his terrible upbringing. The Dead Mother is one of his most haunting art pieces. The painting is to honor Munch's mother, who died of tuberculosis when Munch was a young boy. The painting reflects some of the angst, despair, and insanity that Edvard went through growing up. These elements are used to form what can only be described as a truly disturbing painting to look at. The painting depicts a young girl with her back turned to a bed on which her dead mother lies as she holds her hands to her ears with a wide-eyed expression of disbelief. The emotions of frozen time, disbelief, and trauma a child may have following a parent's death are expressed in this painting. And these emotions never left him as he experienced them firsthand. Some would say that, contrary to the girl's distraught pose, the faraway look in the eyes show that she has already broken free from reality. It is as if she is trying to block out the stillness of the room, or the news that her mother is gone forever. The little girl's eyes have been reported to follow viewers as they move around her, and some people can even hear the sheets from the dead mother's bed rustling as they stand near the painting. The piece of art is now maintained at the Kunsthalle in Bremen, but the trauma and despair make the painting still haunting to look at today. In at number 3, we have Man Proposes, God Disposes. The 1800 paintings by Sir Edwin Landseer could be one of the most mysterious and haunting one there is. The painting shows 2 polar bears savagely attacking human remains. The painting was to depict the mysterious and terrifying tales of Sir John Franklin's failed expedition to find the Northwest Passage. Finding the passage was very important in the eyes of British merchants and sailors in the 19th century because it would link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and cut the length of the trip and inevitably strengthen British imperial power. Franklin was a very experienced explorer and set off on his expedition with 129 men and 2 Navy ships, but after 3 years there were no word from him. There were countless searches and missions to try and find the missing crew and ships. During one mission in 1854, they spoke to the local Inuit community, who met with some of the remaining crew after they had to abandon their ship. And after 10 years, the only thing they could find were objects from the expedition, including Franklin's telescope seen in the painting. Most gruesome, however, was their discovery of bones belonging to members of the crew. This mysterious disappearance of the crew and their failed expedition is not only the haunting part about the painting though, as the picture is displayed at Royal Holloway University of London, where it has to be covered with a Union flag during exam season. This is due to the fact that in the 1970s there was a rumour of a student taking their own life after staring at the painting for too long. The student allegedly left a note behind saying the polar bears made me do it, while other students reported feeling uneasy and upset while sitting next to it. In at number 2 we have Pogo the Clown. During the early 1970s, John Wayne Gacy was considered a loving husband and a successful restaurant manager. He was seen as an active and important community member as he would dress up as a clown at events to raise money for local charities. His clown alter ego was called Pogo the Clown, where many sick kids in local hospitals would receive visits from Pogo. John was seen as a normal and kind man until the truth about his alter ego came to the surface. Under the floorboards of his house there were discovered remains of people he took the life of. After John was exposed for his criminal behavior, he was convicted and imprisoned on death row. In prison, John began to oil paint. When people would view his painting, they would feel a mix of repulsion and intrigue. One piece in particular is known to fully represent John's murderous instinct, called Pogo the Clown. In 2001, the painting would be purchased by singer Nikki Stone for $3,000. Shortly after purchasing the painting, Nikki noticed a string of accidents and tragedies following him. This being his dog suddenly passing away and then his mother falling sick. Alarmed with the sudden bad news, he arranged to have the painting stored at a friend's house instead. While it was in the hands of the friend, a close neighbor passed in a car accident. The painting would be later handed over to another friend until the eeriness of the painting would haunt the man until he went mad. Stone, the original owner of the painting, had no choice but to sell it for all of the negative energy that it brought to each person that it was handed over to. Finally, coming in at number 1, we have Untitled by Zdzislaw Beksinski. One of the most visually frightening paintings on this list, we have the Zdzislaw Beksinski Untitled painting that looks like a scene straight out of a nightmare. Not only does it look terrifying, but the legend surrounding the painting is also not for the faint-hearted. Many people believe that the painting is cursed. The Polish painter did not title any of his paintings because he wanted to avoid any metaphorical interpretation of his paintings. He also reportedly burned a selection of his artworks in his backyard before anyone could ever see them. As an artist, Beksinski was fascinated with death, decay, and darkness, but those weren't his only fascinations. Therefore, his work had dark, decaying, and gruesome images. Beksinski's life was filled with tragedy after his wife suddenly passed, and just a year later his son would follow. 6 years after these horrible accidents, the artist himself was found unalive in his apartment. Understandably, his tragic last year have since often been linked with the grimness of his art, because of all of the death and bad luck that followed the artist's painting. It's believed that anyone that looked at the painting for too long would soon be met with the same fate as Beksinski's family.
In 5th place, we have Ed's paintings. So long before they were famed ghost hunters investigating the Amityville Horror and featured in films such as The Conjuring, Ed and Lorraine had a much different hobby. Painting. Actually, it was how the duo made a living. Ed Warren was a trained fine arts painter. The duo traveled all over the country to sell their paintings, and they also taught art classes. The couple used Ed's paintings as a way to gain entry into houses they wanted to investigate. They would research houses they believed to be haunted, and then drive to the house. After Ed painted the house in question, he would then hand the painting to Lorraine, who would go up, knock on the door, and offer the homeowners the painting, which would usually turn into a conversation about the property and the hauntings. This process was how their investigative career began. Ed became known for his barn door art, painting tranquil winter scenes on stained pine, which was all the rage for adorning the wood grain halls of any home in the late 60s, and apparently these paintings are now quite rare. Many of his paintings that have been photographed feature different haunted houses, and examples of his art and calligraphy style are displayed throughout the museum. In 4th place, we have black magic masks. These fall under the practice of tulpa, which is a concept in theosophy, mysticism, and the paranormal, of a materialized thought form, typically in human form such as an imaginary friend or being that is created through spiritual practice and intense concentration. In simpler English, the masks act as a representation of the practice, which is a form of mysticism that involves creating sentient and autonomous beings separate from oneself. So, an imaginary friend? The concept of tulpas and their creation, including the word tulpa, come from a close-in Tibetan Buddhist practice, with tulpa being a Tibetan word for creature of the mind. Tulpas did not become part of Western paranormal lore until the 1970s, and those who practice have been cited as wearing masks similar to Halloween ones in order to take on the appearance of whatever the mask looks like. I guess that explains why I've seen many cheap-looking Halloween masks in the video walkthroughs from the museum, so I suppose I'll retract my statements that I made about how pathetic they look. If anyone is curious about modern practices and appropriations of tulpamancers, the interweb origins can be traced back to 4chan message boards in 2009, and no, if you don't know what that means, I'm not going to elaborate on just how cursed that sentence was to utter. Oh, it gets worse. Alright. The communities gained popularity when adult fans of My Little Pony started discussing tulpas of characters from the Friendship is Magic television series. The fans attempted to use meditation and lucid dreaming techniques to create imaginary friends. Look, I knew someone back in high school who fell under that subculture, and he was the furthest thing from mentally stable. The guy had people munching fantasies as well. Time to move on before I get nightmares again. In third place, we have a Satanic Idol. So this story began in 1991 when a deer hunter was walking through the woods in Connecticut, close to where Ed and Lorraine resided. The hunter got lost and after some time stumbled upon a raised, circular rock formation with the idol in question standing in the middle of it. It is believed that the formation was common with folks who practiced devil worship in the 70s. The hunter began to feel uncomfortable and left the area, deciding to make his way back to his car, and along the way he noticed an elderly gentleman walking alongside him who was dressed head to toe in black. Now the man in black never spoke a single word to the deer hunter. The hunter was getting more nervous by the second, and also more lost and unsure of his directional path. Desperate, he turned to the mysterious figure and simply asked, "How do I get out of here?" Luckily for our narrator, the man in black pointed in a direction and then disappeared. The hunter was so thrown off by that day that he reached out to Ed, who requested to be brought to the same area. The hunter wasn't 100% sure he could find the exact location, but was willing to try. Together, the men were able to stumble through the forest, and without the aid of the man in black this time, found the rock formation. Ed removed the demonic idol from the area and placed it at home in his museum, and that's when things got a little weirder. Because, you know, a man in black spotting and weird forest stuff isn't weird enough for us. Approximately 3 days after removing the idol, Lorraine collapsed for no known reason. She was transported to the hospital where no one could identify what was wrong with her. Thankfully, after 3 more days, she recovered. Red flag time! 3s and 6s are very popular numbers amongst the demonic scary people and things that you want to avoid. Ed believed that this was caused by the gentleman in black, who was believed to have been a high priest in a satanic cult as a form of payback for removing the satanic idol. Now, this idol remains in the Warrens Museum to this day, and honestly, I think it looks like a papier-mâché masterpiece of an alien, but please let me know in the comments if anyone out there has a different opinion. In second place, we have a shadow doll. So among one of the first haunted items visible in the museum to visitors is a shadow doll, which boasts bird feathers and a genuine human tooth. Unlike the other dolls included in the museum, I'd consider this creature more of a sculpture. Ergo, why she made her way to my list today. Also, she's just overall terrifying to look at. I'm calling it now. She better join the TV universe soon. So a shadow doll is a statue or deity of sorts that is made specifically for harm and to be used at the center of curses. I happen to know the steps for the most common curse, and while I'll leave out a step for safety, yes, I promise I'll elaborate. So the caster would first need to take a picture of the doll, write a curse on the back of the photo, and then send it to whomever the curse is aimed for. The person who receives the picture with the curse will sadly invite that curse into their lives. I'm thinking, oh, totally forgot. The doll will also appear in that person's dreams. While not too much is known about the origins of this specific doll, it was initially purchased in a vintage store under the assumption that it was, simply an antique. I have a couple of antique dolls myself, and I'm shuddering to think about what they would do if activated by any kind of curse. They've already got enough of a personality. Thanks. In our first place, we have a copy of Crying Boy. So when Bob Smith was a young child in the 70s, he became fascinated by a painting in his grandmother's house. The painting was a cheap print of a well-known piece and was hung on the living room wall. The photo depicted a boy who was a similar age to Bob, and for some reason, looked sad and downcast, with tears brimming from his troubled eyes. A few years after the painting went up on the wall, there was a devastating kitchen fire in the house. While the kitchen was destroyed, the rest of the house was undamaged. The painting was eventually sold in a garage sale to Ed Warren himself. For years it puzzled Bob why his grandmother got rid of the painting, until he read a series of articles about a cursed painting. Yep, that painting was The Crying Boy. That's the title of the painting. The Crying Boy was one in a series of paintings by artist Giovanni Bragolin that was completed in the 1950s. The series depicted young, teary-eyed younglings. While it may seem strange to want an image of a weeping child on your wall, the pictures proved popular all over the world. For example, in the UK alone, over 50,000 copies were sold. The children represented were often poor and very beautiful. In total, Giovanni painted over 60 paintings, and up until the early 80s, prints and reprints of his images continued to be mass-produced. In 1985, the most popular tabloid newspaper in the United Kingdom printed a story that caused panic and ended the popularity of his work. The Sun published an article entitled "Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy," describing the terrible experience of May and Ron Hall after their home was destroyed by fire. The cause of the fire, much like Bob's grandmother's, was a greasy pan that overheated and burst into flames. The fire spread rapidly and destroyed everything on the ground floor of the home. Only one item remained intact: print of the crying boy on their living room wall. Distraught at their loss, the devastated couple made the bizarre claim that the painting was cursed, and it, not the pan, was the cause of the fire. Now, this tale probably would have disappeared into the archives of strange and mysterious stories, except for one, tiny thing. A firefighter claimed that he had attended at least 15 house fires where everything was destroyed except for prints of the crying boy, which would remain completely intact. So before long, this gathered momentum, and a rash of fires all over the world were blamed on the cursed child, not to be confused with the play that's currently running of the same name. In subsequent articles, the Sun went on to claim that a woman had lost her house to a fire 6 months after buying the painting. 2 sisters had fires in their homes after buying a copy of the painting, when one sister even claimed to have seen her painting sway backwards and forwards on the wall while it was happening. A concerned woman on the Isle of Wight attempted to burn her painting without success, and then went on to suffer a run of very bad luck. A gentleman in Nottingham who possessed a print of the painting lost his home, and his family was injured. A pizza parlor got destroyed, including every painting on their walls, except for the crying boy. When the Sun reported that even rational firefighters refused to have a copy of this painting in their homes, the reputation of the crying boy was damned forever. In all these cases, and many more that were reported, paintings of the crying boy went unharmed. Eventually, there was an image of a crying child by any artist in a house that went on fire. Now, some folks claimed that they experienced bad luck if they attempted to destroy or even get rid of the paintings, while others were convinced that it was only a matter of time before disaster struck them. The Sun eventually offered the frightened public a solution. On Halloween night of 1985, hundreds of the paintings were collected together by the newspaper and burnt under the supervision of the fire brigade. So, why would this seemingly innocent series of paintings be cursed? Theories ranged from the little boy being from a Romani family who placed a curse on the artist, to others claiming that the subject of the painting had died in a fire and his spirit was trapped in the art. The most enduring story claims that the boy accidentally set fire to the studio of Giovanni Bregolin. Simply put, wherever the little orphan went, fires mysteriously followed, earning him the name Diablo or Devil.
In at number 5, we have the Stagecraft. This eerie painting was an adaptation of a photograph that was taken by photographer James Kidd. The photo was taken of a wooden car, and when the picture was finally developed, it shows a ghostly figure of a headless man standing on a log to the left of the wagon. The figure's coat, pants, and boots are quite plain and easy to see, but he has no head. The photograph was examined by Kodak and other experts, and it was proved that this photo was not tampered with in any way. In 1994, James Kidd displayed his photo at a gallery in Tombstone, Arizona, and painter Laura, who was also showing off her art at the gallery, saw the Stagecraft photo and was very intrigued. Laura asked James if she could make an oil painting of the photo. He said she could, and she began to work on the 16 by 20 inch oil painting based on the photo. When she was about halfway through completing the painting, she began getting a strange feeling, and Laura thought to herself why she chose that photo to paint, or maybe she shouldn't have even started it, but she did finish it. After completion of the painting, some very strange and unexplainable things began to happen around her home, seemingly centered around that painting. Laura says she doesn't believe in ghosts, but she isn't able to explain how or why these strange things happened. She took the painting to hang it in the office she worked at, and 3 days after doing that, the office called and asked her to come pick up the ghost painting. Every morning, people claimed the painting was crooked. They would straighten it, and the next morning it would be crooked again. Also, appointments were suddenly messed up and papers went missing. People in the office were very afraid of the painting, so Laura took it back to her house. Since she took it home, her and her husband would experience weird occurrences like knocks on the door, but no one was there. Seeing a white hazy figure of a person, a clock which hung on the wall for over 40 years suddenly fell and broke, mysterious leaks in their roof, and even though it was brand new and looked at multiple times by workers who said nothing was wrong with it. Many weird things happened, not only to them but also to friends of theirs who would come over or just look at the photo. Laura claims even after all of these unexplainable experiences, she still doesn't believe in ghosts, but if she could go back, she would never have created the painting. In at number 4, we have the Rain Woman. The Rain Woman was painted in 1996 by a Ukraine artist by the name of Svetlana Telets. One day she began to feel as if someone was always with her, and one day she had the urge to draw, and she believed she captured who was watching over her. During the creation of the painting, she felt that a hand was guiding her during the entire process, and had finished the Rain Woman in less than 5 hours. After finishing the painting, it was put on the market and was bought, but then quickly brought back which occurred many times by different purchasers of the Rain Woman. The first woman who bought it claimed she couldn't get any sleep and felt someone was beside her even after hiding the painting behind a cupboard. The second purchaser was a young man, and he too couldn't stand to keep the painting. He brought it back to the artist without even taking his money back. The man said he kept dreaming and complained that every night there was a shadow of the woman walking around and he was extremely afraid of it. The third buyer was a male and was completely skeptical of the cursed painting, but he too quickly returned it when he started to see the lady in the painting and her white eyes everywhere. He also claimed to have intense headaches while being in the room with it. It's believed that this painting is possessed by an evil spirit that has been haunting her targets and the creator since the completion of the painting. Apparently, the woman infiltrates targets' homes through a gallery transaction or art purchase. She takes her time to select her preferred target. She simply sits, displayed, and when an appropriate target comes along, they will be inexplicably drawn to the painting and compelled to purchase it. Once she is bought and brought into the home, the targets start to experience sleeplessness, nightmares, general misfortune, conflict with others living in the home, and the feeling of constantly being watched. It is unknown whether the painting is possessed or cursed, but due to so many people experiencing similar things while owning the painting, it's known around the world as one of the most haunted paintings in the world. The painting now hangs in the Venezia Salon, Merchik's furniture on the streets of Kiev. Customers who visit the shop today claim that you can catch the painting smiling or having a glance of anger. In at number 2, we have The Hands Resist Him. The Hands Resist Him was created by artist Bill Stoneham in 1972. It shows a young boy and a female doll standing in front of a glass paneled door against which many hands are pressed. According to Bill, the boy is based on a photograph of himself at the age of 5. The doorway is a representation of the dividing line between the current world and the world of fantasy and impossibilities, while the doll is a guide that will escort the boy through it. The hands represent alternative lives of possibilities. This painting became the subject of an urban legend and a viral internet meme in February 2000 when it was posted for sale on eBay, along with a description implying that it was haunted. The painting was first displayed at the Feingarten Gallery in Beverly Hills, California, and was even reviewed by an art critic at the Los Angeles Times. According to Bill, the owner of the gallery and the art critic who reviewed the painting died within 1 year of coming into contact with it. During the show, the painting was purchased by actor John Marley, who had a notable role in the movie The Godfather. After Marley's death, the painting was found at the site of an old brewery by an elderly California couple who kept it until auctioning it on eBay in February 2000. According to the couple, the painting carried some form of a curse. They claimed that the characters in the painting moved during the night and that they would sometimes leave the painting and another room, and the painting had made its way to that room they had just entered. The couple also included a series of photographs they had taken, said to be evidence of an incident in which the female doll character threatened the male character with the gun that she was holding, causing him to attempt to leave the painting. A disclaimer was included in the listing absolving the seller from all liability if the painting was purchased. News of the listing ran rapid through the internet, catching lots of attention, and the auction page was viewed over 30,000 times. Some people who had seen the photo of the painting claimed that it made them feel ill or have an unpleasant experience. After an initial bid of $199, the painting eventually received 30 bids and sold for $1,025. The buyer of this cursed painting was the Perception Gallery in Grand Rapids, Michigan. An individual who saw the story of the Hands Resist Him painting contacted Bill Stoneham in 2004 about commissioning a sequel. Bill agreed and actually went on to make 3 more paintings that related to the original, creating a series. On March 15, 2017, the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas announced it had acquired the prequel painting. Bill Stoneham finished the series with his final painting, What Remains, in 2021. And finally, in at number 1, we have The Anguished Man. The Anguished Man is probably one of the most famous cursed paintings of all time. This oil painting is known to be the world's most haunted, not only paintings in the world, but objects next to the Annabelle doll and the Dybbuk box. This famous painting was created by an unknown artist who mixed the paint with his own blood. The artist was very troubled, and soon after finishing the painting, he took his own life. The Anguished Man is currently owned by Sean Robinson from Cumbria, England. He inherited the painting from his grandmother, who warned him that the painting was cursed. Despite what his grandmother said, the painting fascinated him. So he did take it, but he had to keep it in the basement of his house because his wife didn't like it. In 2010, Sean removed the painting from the basement after a flooding happened and put it in one of the bedrooms bedrooms of the home. Shortly after moving the painting, Sean and his family started to experience strange happenings around the house, like seeing a shadowy figure of a man and hearing sounds of whispering and crying. The incidents kept happening, haunting each member of the family. At nighttime, Sean would suddenly awake to see a dark, faceless figure standing in his bedroom, and his wife discovered a stranger lying on the bed next to her, leaving her traumatized. The occurrence became dangerous when the couple's son, Keenan, felt a presence push him down the stairs. In 2011, Sean uploaded a video on YouTube titled Ghost Activity Caught on Tape, Haunted Painting, The Anguished Man, which had gained over 1 million views. The video was recorded for 8 consecutive hours in the bedroom where the painting hung. The video contains footage of the door closing on its own, a loud bang, and sounds of scraping can be heard. Sean continued uploading videos, posting updates about the painting and capturing further paranormal activity in the house, such as distorted sounds and a mysterious ghostly figure running past the camera. To this day, Sean still owns the cursed painting and refuses to destroy it. He keeps it in his basement to avoid any more harm to him and his family. He is currently planning on bringing his story and experiences to the big screen to make a film about the Anguished Man.
Number 5. The Manson Blood Painting. Charles Manson was the infamous cult leader who formed a group of mostly young women, teaching them that they were the reincarnations of the original Christians and that he was Jesus Christ. Manson began using his followers for extortion, taking a music teacher who they believed had inherited a large fortune hostage in his home and demanding that he join the cult and turn over the money. The man maintained that they were mistaken, and Manson attacked him with a sword before having one of his followers finish the job. In the cult's most famous incident, Manson sent 4 family members to the home of Hollywood actress Sharon Tate with instructions for them to end the lives of Tate and the 4 guests who were staying with her. The next night, these family members were joined by 3 others and brought by Manson to the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, where they broke in and tied up the 2 residents at Manson's instructions. He then ordered them to dispatch the victims and left. Although it hasn't been conclusively proven, the Manson family are believed to be responsible for at least 15 other deaths, with Manson himself claiming at one point that he was responsible for 35 total deaths. Manson was apprehended and remained in prison until his execution in 2017. Even while in custody, he maintained a dedicated group of admirers, and after his death, his ashes were scattered at his funeral and an admiring artist gathered some of them up. The artist, Ryan Almighty, then used their own blood in order to paint a picture of the cult leader, using Manson's real ashes to fill in the eyes on the portrait. Many people who see the painting report it having a charged feeling, and many people refuse to look into the eyes of the Manson painting out of fear for what could happen. It doesn't have too much of a reputation for being haunted, but come on. If ever there was a painting that was begging to be haunted or cursed, it would be the one made with the actual human remains of Charles Manson. This painting should be destroyed or locked away in the Warrens Museum just to be safe. Why wait until more creepy activity is linked to this disturbing painting?
Coming in at number 5, the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. When the Galvez Hotel opened in the 1900s, they hung a portrait of Spanish military officer Bernardo de Galvez, after whom the hotel was named, in the hallway. It is not actually known who painted the portrait or when it was painted, but it is believed it was commissioned by Bernardo himself. He was a Spanish military leader who fought for the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. He died in 1786, but according to countless observers, the portrait of him that hangs at the end of a downstairs hallway at Hotel Galvez is haunted by the man's ghost. Bernardo de Galvez died of an illness in Mexico City in November of 1786, only a few months after his 40th birthday. So how would his spirit have found its way to the Galvez Hotel? It could be possible that his spirit became attached to the painting and therefore was transported with it to the hotel. In life, he was regarded as a hero for fighting for his country, but in death he seems to bring people fear while visiting the hotel. Soon after opening, the hotel guests started to report a cold, uneasy feeling when they passed the painting, as if they were passing right through a ghost. Others could feel the eyes of the painting following them around the room. This has even been captured by photographers. It It is said that if you want to capture a picture of Bernardo de Galvez, you must first ask permission. If you do not, then your picture will come out blurry. Is his spirit just watching over the hotel, or maybe he has some unfinished business that he wants to resolve? Either way, I would not want to spend time around this painting. In at number 2 we have Love Letters Replica. The Love Letters painting is dubbed one of the most haunted paintings in the world and is most known for its history connected to Austin's Driscoll Hotel. A US senator lost his 4-year-old daughter Samantha Houston after she chased her ball down the grand stairs and tripped and fell to her death. People think that this painting was then hung up on the 5th floor of the hotel as a tribute to her. The truth is, this isn't Samantha at all. This painting was a modern day replica by Richard King of a work entitled Love Letters, actually painted by Charles Trevor Garland. It is quite possible that the painting may have been bought because the little girl in the picture looked like Samantha, but it most certainly isn't her at all. When this picture was hung up on the 5th floor of the hotel, people were reported feeling dizzy around the painting, nauseous and having strange sensations like being lifted off the ground. Others have said that the girl in the painting has tried to communicate with them and her expression changes. The weird thing about this haunting is that this is not the original painting of Samantha, but no one knows where the original is. Could her spirit have chosen to attach itself to this painting anyway, or is there another spirit attached that everyone has assumed is Samantha? And finally, in at number 1 we have The Rain Woman. Having completed the painting in a mere 5 hours, the artist Svetlana Telets revealed a hand was guiding her. The painting was completed in 1996. The first purchaser was a lonely businesswoman. She hung it up on the wall in her bedroom, and after 2 weeks Svetlana got a call late at night from the lady stating, "Please take it back, I can't sleep. It feels like there is someone else in my apartment beside me. I even took it off the wall and hid it behind a cupboard, but I have this feeling." The second purchaser, a young man, bought this painting. He too couldn't stand it. He brought it back to the artist without even taking his money back. He said he kept dreaming of it and he complained that every night there was a shadow of the woman walking around. He stated that it was sending him mad and he was extremely afraid of it. The third was a male. He was completely skeptical and didn't believe what was rumored to be happening with it at all, but he quickly returned it when he started to see the lady in the paintings, white eyes everywhere he went. He also claimed to have an intense headache while being in the room with it. Many believe the painting is evil and is cursed, but the artist herself disagrees and has optimized views on it. She stated, "I'm sure that every picture is born for some particular person. I believe that for my woman, there is also a person. I understand that many of you don't need this grief in your eyes, it's just not an interior decoration. I'm sure there is someone who looks for it as it looks for that someone." She believes that the painting will not haunt the right person, that is simply waiting for that person to buy it. The Rain Woman is now on show at the Tate Modern in London. As no one now sleeps near the painting, the public appear to be safe from the hauntings. But in the future, it may once again hang in someone's home. The Rain Woman may roam again. Coming in at number 5, we have The Dead Mother. The Dead Mother by Edvard Munch was painted in 1900. Edvard was known for his dark inspiration within his paintings. Having lived a tragic life, he often took from his experiences when creating his art. Munch had been driven nearly insane by his upbringing in the house of an angry religious fanatic of a father after the tragic death of his mother and sister by tuberculosis when he was only 5 years old. The Dead Mother seems to reflect some of that angst, despair and insanity, with these elements congealing to form what can only be described as a truly disturbing painting to look at. It depicts a young girl with her back turned to a bed on which her dead mother lies as she holds her hands to her ears and displays a wide-eyed expression of disbelief. Already creepy enough, but it gets even creepier. People who have owned the painting claim that the girl's eyes incessantly followed them, that the sheets on the mother's bed in the painting would rustle or move, or even that the girl's apparition would occasionally leave the painting altogether. Some people have felt a sinking feeling after just looking at the painting or screaming uncontrollably. After being moved from owner to owner due to hauntings, it is now held safely at the Galerie de Art de Bremen in Germany. Being kept at a safe distance might keep the hauntings to a minimum, or maybe it can now haunt hundreds of people a day. Would you be brave enough to look in the little girl's eyes? You might catch her leaving the frame, or maybe something worse. I think it would be best to stay clear just to be safe.